If you're the type of dude who constantly tells yourself that your gear is fine just the way it is, right before you go and impulse purchase some more stuff to just slap right on there, stay tuned, because that's me. I'm describing me, and I have new gear that I put on my plate carrier. What is up, guys? My name is John with Pew Pew Tactical, your definitive source for gun reviews, gear guides, and all things that go... that noise. I've covered my RE Factor Advanced Slickster before, and that's still the base that I'm using for my current iteration of my rig. But I've also been jealously eyeing some of the new features found on Ferro's FCPC5 base, the newest carrier in Ferro Concepts lineup. And most of those new features on the FCPC5, while cool, aren't necessarily something that I was gonna buy a completely new plate carrier over, just because this thing works pretty well for everything that I need it to do. However, Ferro is cool enough to release a bunch of standalone adapters that will actually retrofit your older carrier and get it up to speed and working with the newer stuff that they're putting out, which for this industry is pretty rare. So this is going to be a real quick overview of exactly that. Some new Ferro stuff that now has a new home on my old-ass rig, for better or worse. First up, I've ditched the stock elastic low-profile cummerbund that originally came with the RE Factor Slickster for a few different reasons, though primarily because I've yet to encounter a situation in which concealing an armor carrier has ever really been a concern for me, but obviously your mileage may vary. While not a huge issue, I'd also noticed that some of the elastic cells on the old cummerbund had started to become worn from repeated drawing of mags and just general use. The elastic cummerbund also had just enough give to allow my plate bags to shift sort of side to side when moving vigorously, and I decided that I wanted something with maybe a little bit more stability when I was in the training phase for the tactical games event that ultimately would wind up getting canceled a while back. However, even though concealing this thing is not really something I'm ever really worried about, it is still a relatively low-profile rig, and that works great for me, and I did not want to change that and really push it into the territory of some of the larger or bulkier plate carrier setups on the market. Luckily, the Ferro Adapt Assault Cummerbund would prove to be pretty much exactly what I was looking for. The Adapt Cummerbund retains the overall low profile you might have come to expect from the brand, but it also adds a fair amount of rigidity thanks to being built around this laser-cut carbon fiber laminate material. At only 3 inches tall, the Adapt Cummerbund is much slimmer than a lot of similar offerings on the market, and the innovative cuts in the material allow for attachment of other molly pouches as well. I generally still prefer to keep my flanks more or less slick, but it is nice to have the option to swap my kit up if I need to, as opposed to being limited to only carrying what might fit in one of the old AR-sized elastic cells on the older cummerbund. Lastly, it's also got a hidden section of elastic built in at the rear of the cummerbund itself, which means that while rigid, it's going to move and breathe with you once you've got it adjusted properly. It's a pretty cool improvement over the occasionally floppy elastic solutions of old that can wear out over time. The Adapt Cummerbund is also loop Velcro lined, allowing you to add side armor plate bags if extra protection is something that you need. Next up, this is a pretty small addition, but in terms of comfort, it makes a pretty big difference, I feel. I finally decided to toss actual shoulder pads on this rig, and I've decided on Ferro's strap socks as the way to do it. They're lightly padded and constructed of a pleasantly stretchy fabric that allows you to slide the exposed shoulder harness through it when you have the two plate bags separated. Personally, I find that this is just the right amount of padding. It alleviates the weight of plates and mags when you're fully loaded up, while still remaining low profile enough not to get in the way. I feel like the design also hugs the carrier quite well. It doesn't have the effect of lifting the plate bags away from your body like some larger designs do. Probably the addition to the FCPC5 that I was most stoked on is the inclusion of a rear zipper system. This allows you to swap out a bunch of different back panels and configure the rig however you need to set it up for whatever you might be doing. Obviously, as the name suggests, this does require the presence of zippers to work, and thankfully there are adapters that allow older plate bags to be configured to accept the new Adapt back panels. The installation is slightly confusing, but it's slick as hell once you've got it figured out. Essentially, you've got to weave the single molly strap in and out of the carrier and adapter, then tuck in the excess at the bottom. But the newer laser-cut molly material might be a little bit baffling to work with if you're used to older molly setups. Regardless, once installed properly, you can now throw an entirely new back panel right on, which is a godsend as compared to weaving old-gen Molly stuff to a rear plate bag. Trust me, your fingertips and your hangnails will thank you. Truthfully, I had actually intended to shoot this video much earlier in the year, but quarantine, schedules, etc., etc. And at the time that I was acquiring all of the kit for this video, the only rear panels that I could find in stock were the Assaulter variant. Now, me being me, having high rear mounted flashbangs meant to be accessed by a buddy when you're assaulting or breaching a door or whatever is not really a thing I'm ever going to do, so I'm probably going to wind up swapping that panel out for one of the more utilitist designs that just features two large GP pouches vertically staggered above each other. However, it might be worth noting that the panel holds White Claws pretty damn well in the event that you are the guy on your team responsible for keeping the boys hydrated, brother. This joke also worked a lot better when there were still White Claws in the can. They actually don't fit that well, and as a result, the elastic just kind of crushes the White Claw because it's an empty aluminum structurally. It's not that strong. It's not really what you want. Lastly, I've thrown a Ferro mini dangler right onto the front of the rig that just gives me a little bit more general purpose space for small bits and bobs, multi-tools, loose rounds, or medical items, whatever. I enjoy that the dangler isn't quite as tall as the other similar pouches on the market, and instead chooses to stretch its legs horizontally, giving you ample space for small items without potentially interfering with your belt kit or otherwise getting in the way. I've since ditched my older Spiritus fanny sack. The fanny sack has some shock cord loops right on the bottom of the sack itself, just to kind of streamline that space as best as possible. And in my opinion, there's no real reason to run a thing with a strap and buckles when you can integrate it right onto the rig itself. And that's that. Like I said, I just wanted to do a real quick update video, kind of touching on some of the newer elements I've added to the rig that you guys probably see in most of the videos that I do, as well as shine a light on Ferro Concepts themselves. The gear is quality, the prices aren't too bad, the decision to make all of their new stuff backwards compatible, retrofittable to older generation carriers is commendable, and unlike some of the other manufacturers in sort of the higher end Gucci hype gear marketing game, Ferro keeps stuff in stock pretty regularly, does regular restocks, and chances are, if something is not in stock at the time that you're looking for it, you can either find it at one of their retailers or it'll be back up pretty soon. All of that is to say, if you are in the market for Gucci ultra configurable kit, check out Ferro Concepts. And to be clear, this is not a sponsored or paid promotion advertisement video. I just really like Ferro and what they're doing and enjoy the kit that I have from them. Alright guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel as we've got lots more gear reviews on the way. Also, we got shirts. You wear a shirt probably most days. You should wear our shirt. My name is John with Pew Pew Tactical. See you next time.